Life is very unpredictable. It's not coming with a syllabus and an exam which is planned.
Like I said, there's no shortcut to success.
I'm sorry for whatever I did. And
Accepted.
The admission is like a war zone.
yeah, but like influences and all, like we just come to college because I think it's like a mandatory degree that we need.
Like you said, degree is just there. They want to make quick money. They want to be influencer. They want to enter the world of corporates quicker.
Corporate plus startup is, I think, the new trend, the new mantra.
Teachers are the OG content creators.
Yeah. So do you think because of AI coming in, softwares like ChatGPT and all, the critical thinking skill of the students right now is going down?
I believe one thing, change is the only constant in life. You don't change, you don't grow. Information is there. It's for everyone. To be able to take a decision is the bigger skill, and which people are lacking.
So what is RK Learning Studios, ma'am? Can you please tell us?
Now we started our YouTube channel also
Right.
to cater not only to our students
Right.
but to everyone at large.
Delhi University is top notch. Probably the cutoffs are 98, 99 as compared to Mumbai University is not that much. So what do you think could be the reason for the slight dip in, I would say, quality of Mumbai University?
Why would you go to a Delhi university if I had to ask?
Mumbai prepares you. Mumbai sets you apart.
Finance or marketing? In India, which of these fields has a greater scope? Do you think that the level of examinations has become much more easier, or the education has become much more simpler, or the students have become much more sharper? Hi, ma'am. So, introducing our guests a little more briefly, Dr. Ritika Pathak, ma'am, is currently the HOD of the undergraduate courses of Management and Commerce. She has done her PhD in talent management. She has done her post-graduation in human resource management and finance. And she has also done a master's in business management. She has gained a vast amount of knowledge through this. And she is very, very well experienced in business management, strategic management, human resource management. And the list just keeps going on and on. Ma'am, thank you so much for coming and gracing us with your presence. I'm truly honored, and it's a privilege to have you over here.
Thank you so much for inviting Pritish. All my pleasure. Thank you so much.
So now for our second guest, who is Dr. Khushnama Tata, ma'am. She's a very well-renowned professor of KC College, and she has done her PhD in commerce. She has worked for one of the big four organizations, and through her experience and through her knowledge, she's shaping the younger generation to become experienced leaders and to make a change. Ma'am has also published research papers. Ma'am has also published books, along with Ritika ma'am, who has done the same. Ritika ma'am has published 9 research papers and has published 7 books. Khushnama ma'am has published a lot of other research papers and a lot of books in retail management, strategic management, and marketing. And along with this, they are the co-founders of RK Learning Studios. Ma'am, again, it's a pleasure to have you over here.
Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to have a conversation with you today, Pritish.
So to give a little backstory to our viewers, how I know ma'am, I have been their student in college. I've had the privilege of being their student, of learning and gaining experience from them, being at the receiving ends of complaints and a lot of mischief that I probably would have done. So before
a lot of talks.
yeah, a lot of talk. Yeah. Ma'am, before we start the episode, I'm sorry for whatever I did. And
Accepted.
probably 2 years a little late, but
But accepted. No problem.
So ma'am, how are you today and how is everything going on?
All great, going on great. We miss students like y'all. We miss having and I'm truly feeling really great that you're doing this podcast and you're thriving so well. So it's nice to see my students do so well.
Thank you,
Really
ma'am.
nice.
It's all the learnings that we have gotten from both of you. And Khushnama ma'am, how are you?
Okay, first of all, I'm very, very proud of you, Pritish.
Thank you.
Okay, just from a Zest core member to a Joule core member, I think you have grown. And the milestone which you have achieved, I think it's worth giving examples even in classrooms. So kudos to you.
Does that actually happen?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Again, like I mentioned, it's my pleasure to have you over here. So both of you are well-renowned professors in business management and a lot of other avenues as well. So how is it to be a college teacher? Because you're having kids who are just finishing school and then you have to mold them for the future. So how does that go about it? And now considering the fact that Ritika ma'am, you have been teaching since 2011 and you would have met a vast variety of students in terms of, the mentality that they had earlier and the mentality that they have right now. And ma'am, same goes for you as well. You have met so many students over the years. So how is it how is the experience dealing with those different kind of students?
So honestly speaking, there has been a huge shift. So I'll give you like how my journey. When I started off in 2011, the generation gap between me and my students was barely anything.
Yeah.
Right? So you could connect better. You could connect with the students. You could understand their mentality. Things were different. The generation, I would say it's a completely generational shift. And then comes in the entire pandemic. I would like to call it like there was AD, BC that you would have studied in school,
Yeah.
but I want to call this era like BC, DC, and AC, which is before Corona, during COVID, and after COVID. Different times, different shifts, the mentality, generation, everything has changed. And yes, it is a challenge to mold today's generation and understand their ideologies, but that's exactly what we are trying to do, and that's the reason we are trying to build that gap between the generational shift that we see. And that's why RK Learning, we were just having a discussion, that's how RK Learning was born. That is the reason RK Learning was born. And we want to be able to connect with our students better, no matter what age they are. The problems remain the same.
Right.
It's just the lingo changes,
Right.
the way they approach changes, but the problems, the issues remain the same. That's my perspective. She may have.
So I think I started teaching around 6 to 7 years back now. And even in this 6-7 years, I feel, as she rightly pointed out, the gap is like generation has changed. Okay, I feel every year now generation is changing. The people, how they behave, how they talk, how their relationship goes, all of that has completely changed. Okay, and the perspective to look at education has also changed, to be very honest, in that aspect as well.
Right.
Okay, and even if like 1% we can contribute to make that education fun in their language, as she rightly pointed out, the lingo, right? Even on our RK Instagram page, you can see we have used a lot of sitcom examples like Stranger Things and Friends, right? To make them feel relevant to what they are studying, making it more of a practicality and applicability towards whatever theory they are studying in class.
Right.
So that's what our aim is, even at RK.
Right. Ma'am, the fact that you mentioned now the generation is changing, and now with social media having such a big impact in our lives, and because of that, I would say the attention span of the students has reduced considerably.
Oh, absolutely.
So how does college, or how do y'all tackle that situation in a way where social media, I would term it as a necessary evil at this point, but with reducing attention spans, with more of social media, I would say views or the impact that it has created in the student's life, how would you say college is helping for students to get through that?
So, like you said, social media has an immense impact.
Yeah.
They want our lectures to be like YouTube shorts. They want it to be as short as that.
Right.
Because this is just an example I would want to quote. So, like, one of the teachers was teaching in class, and was an accounts professor. And she was probably, thinking of the numbers that she has to put up on the board. So, she was just standing thinking. And the students came to me and, ma'am, are you buffering? Okay, so literally that's their language. It's like what you see on YouTube or you see on Netflix. Like it's buffering, so you have to wait. They don't even have that much patience, right? It's they want things fast, and the education system is also evolving. It's not like the education system is not matching up. The education system is also evolving. We're trying to catch up to that. But yes, students, the kind of students that we see today are more, they want things, they want results like now. That's because of social media. Because they want things, they want to understand concepts not in a lecture. They don't want to listen to a story. They want to listen to a quick example and that's it, done. That's how the thought process is now.
Result-oriented. Result-oriented is what they want. And that's what, if we as teachers cannot adapt with the generation, I think then, that gap will again widen, right? And that's what is necessity of that time. So I think we are trying to cater with those shorts, as ma'am rightly pointed out.
Ma'am, just like you mentioned, generation. So when you talk about the 80s and 90s and the aughts era, we had like 70 or an 80% that was considered great. And now the cutoffs go up to 99 or probably even 100%, and that, that's sometimes also not enough.
Absolutely.
So do you think that the level of, I would say, examinations has become much more tough? much more easier, and or the education has become much more simpler, or the students have become much more sharper?
I wouldn't say that the education has become much more simpler. I just feel that the answers are easily available.
Okay.
So I would also say that now, because of the entire Google University, as you may call it, it's just easier to look for answers. It's just easier to remember things. It's just so a child who has a pictorial memory or someone who has an audio memory would be able to study better because that kind of resources are available for them.
Right.
So if they are improving, that's because there are so many aids that have made it easier for them to learn.
Right.
And their productivity automatically goes. Their results gets better. So it's not like the education system has become easier. It's just that the way now they're learning is more easy, more convenient, more easier for them to grasp. So that's how their results have changed. That's my take on it.
What about you?
For me, yes, the war, as we say, the admission is like a war zone, okay? And everyone tries to fight. And truly, yes, 99%, 98%. And I think about my BMS score. If I can reveal, it was 83%. It was decent.
During that time,
83 was
good.
It was good. I used to consider myself as a very good student at that point of time. But today things are changing. Like even if you look like at a BMS graduate, okay, does not only do BMS. With it, they are doing a lot of courses like digital marketing, be it CFA, CA.
Right.
Thousands of things are going around, right? It's not only, so initially we used to say it's plain BCom, BA, BSc. We came out of that. We became BAF, BBI, BFM, BMS. We came out of that also now. So it's with BMS or with BAF or with BFM, you have to do something. After 3 years, you should be like a finished product for the corporate.
Right.
And that's what the entire system is trying to achieve for the students.
Right. And the fact that you mentioned that, doing something not just with your courses.
Yeah.
So now we have so many things that are there. You have like event management, and event management or probably event organizing also. Like, let's just take an example of fests that people do in colleges. You have student committees and they go on, organizing fests. A lot of students are into content creation, which is booming right now, and people are actually making careers out of it. So do you think with so many curriculars playing such an important role in people's life and people actually enjoying it, do you think they look at studying as, look at these things as a way out from studying or probably working and attending lectures?
So, yes, not really, not to be out of the classroom as such, but as I always tell my students that theory forms a base and how to apply it you learn in these festivals.
Right.
Okay, so it's a channel which you have to follow. First you attend lectures, you learn the base, you learn the theory, you apply it in the fest, and I think that's a very great platform which you get to showcase that, okay, have you really understood what is events? Have you really understood what you do in a CSR activity?
Right.
All of that helps you, caters you, whatever theories, jargons which you learn in class, you're applying. And that's what it is. Why is Pythagoras Pythagoras? So you never know that answer in school. But when you go to college, when you attend these fests, when you learn the practicality, I feel that's the channel has to be followed according to me.
Right. But like if you take an example of, let's say, I mean, I don't want to use the term, but like influencers and all, like they're like, we just come to college because I think it's like a mandatory degree that we need. We don't want to attend lectures because we have our content or we have our side business. So with regards to that, I would say, what do you think college should be doing or rather is doing right now so that they don't have these sort of mentalities that is there very prevalent right now?
So, Pritish, I believe that there's no shortcut to success.
Yeah.
All right. So if they think, yes, I agree what you're saying, that students think that they just need the degree, but they need the degree.
Right.
And there's no shortcut to it. They need to study for those 3 years.
Correct.
And those 3 years are not just exams. There's a lot that you can do.
Right.
But yes, students are, they start earning from day one because they become influencers. And I would also say becoming an influencer is also not easy. They're putting in a lot of hard work.
Right.
So, there's no shortcut to anything. You have to work hard to be successful. Right. These events, these extracurricular or co-curricular activities that they do is mainly to channelize the immense amount of energy that today's students have.
Right.
They have the exposure. They have the energy. They and they take admission in one of the top colleges or whichever college or institute they're going in to study their degree. So that aids them with the knowledge that they need to do whatever they are doing, and this gives them like a wholesome. It makes them their personality an overall developed personality because they're getting every aspect covered. So if they are, they are. Probably starting their own Instagram page or a YouTube channel, or they're building their own content, the knowledge has to come.
Right.
And that's what the degree or the college is going to give you.
Right.
Today you want admission or you want to sustain in the longer run.
Right.
Education is key. Without the degree, without education, you can probably make content for 1 day, 2 day, third day.
Right.
For your content to be successful, the information has to be there. ChatGPT can't do it all. So yeah,
Holistic approach.
Holistic approach. Yes, thank you. I was looking for that word. The holistic approach
Right.
comes from the education, which is also changing due to the NEP, due to the National Education Policy. So that is out there.
So because you mentioned ChatGPT, I feel artificial intelligence is playing a major role.
Absolutely.
I would say not even in, professional people's lives, but, all the way from school till, very, very experienced people. So do you think because of AI coming in, softwares like ChatGPT and all, the critical thinking skill of the students right now is going down? Or is it paving a way for much more skills to be developed in students?
I think somewhere it's two sides to the same coin.
Okay.
Yes, I do agree the critical thinking skills is getting impacted because it's just easy, right? Today's students have so we had a problem of probably, thriving hard. Now they have a problem of plenty. There is so much available that the student it's a problem. It's a real problem for them to make that choice. It's not easy. Whether you go the hard way, you learn, you understand, do it yourself, or you find the easy way out. But the problem is, while you're studying, you're taking the easy way out by using ChatGPT. You go start working in the real world and you don't be successful there. Because there are aids, there are tools to make life easier. But you need to have the core knowledge. If your thinking abilities are not getting developed in your time span while you're studying, probably when you start working and when you build your career, that will be a major drawback. So yes, it makes life easy, but it's also impacting your thinking skills, your critical thinking ability. So that's what I feel about it.
So coming to me, in a real life corporate, if you look at a manager, okay, and the manager is given a situation, okay, and I would like to ask you, the situation is like you are making losses for a particular product. Are you going to ask ChatGPT, why am I making losses? ChatGPT is not going to give you an answer that why are you making losses in your corporate, right? Your critical thinking is somewhere down the line being tested here as a manager. And that is what is important. And if you learn that at a very early age, that would be much better for you rather than just seeking the easier option or the easy information. Right? There is a lot, as she rightly pointed out. And now the question is what to use and what not to use.
So, just to add to her, like, there is a lot of information. The bigger problem is probably not just the critical thinking ability, it's the decision making. Information is there. It's for everyone. To be able to take a decision is the bigger skill, and which people are lacking because of.
So do you think AI gives you that information? Where your skill comes in is to use that information in the right way or wrong way.
Absolutely.
So that is something I feel us as individuals are not doing that well.
Correct.
And we probably should be developing that skill.
Absolutely. The core skills, the core interpersonal, the core decision-making skills still remain core to human. You can't, an AI can't replace that. So it can aid, cannot replace.
Cannot replace, correct.
And now, ma'am, coming to a very important aspect of this podcast. We spoke about it in the start. You have mentioned it. Archie Learning Studios. So what is Archie Learning Studios, ma'am? Can you please tell us, how you, the viewers already know slightly about it. It's something that both of you started. Why did you start it? How did you start it? What is the future with it? How do you plan on going about it? and what is happening right now?
So it's our baby. Anyone
Yeah,
can
that's
start.
thank you for asking that. RK Learning Studios is our baby. I have my own babies, but that's our
That's
baby.
our baby.
And it's something we started. I'll give you like the beginning, and she can take it forward from there. We started this during the pandemic.
Okay.
We were all working from home, and as teachers, we were so used to being in classroom.
Yeah.
We missed our students,
Right,
right? We missed that energy, and we had to adapt to a new technology. We had to start teaching on Zoom, and that's where it realized that we realized that the attention span of the student online was going down drastically.
Right.
And it's normal. You can't. It's just. It's absolutely okay for the student to not be able to listen to you for an online lecture for 3-4 hours. Whereas in the classroom environment, it was very different. Like you're there, the presence builds the energy. It's completely different.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So that's when it struck that we need to do something to make learning more interesting.
Yeah.
If the students are not on our Zoom lecture, if those blocks aren't there, the tiles aren't there, they are somewhere. And we realized that somewhere was Instagram. That they were all there. Right? They were scrolling for information, they were scrolling for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
And that's when RK Learning was born, where we thought that let's bring the same kind of examples, learnings that we have, because we are marketing and human resource teachers.
Right.
Let's bring that to the platform that they are watching.
Right.
And let's give it to them in the language that connects with them.
Right.
And that's where it was born on 3rd June 2020.
Okay.
We started the RK Learning page, and from there on, I think she'll continue.
Okay, so yes, that journey start was very beautiful. Of course, it was a very, very slow start, okay?
Yeah.
And I think I remember I used to call few of my students and ask them, how do I go about it? Why are we not getting followers? What's wrong? Like, are we doing something wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, and then my students used to tell me, no, ma'am, just, change this, try to add a little sitcom and try to add something which connects to the youth, okay, and try to teach them in that particular manner. Don't go on boring examples again. Those examples are already discussed in class. So I said, okay, fine. Then we brainstormed together a lot on every, I think for every post, we used to think like for like 3 days, 4 days.
And we made our posts by ourselves.
Yes.
Completely without. And so RK Learning was not just learning for students. We were learning
We
too.
were learning.
Digital media to Canva to every platform.
And
Name
now
it,
to
and we were
YouTube,
absolutely.
we are learning, right? So we started our YouTube channel also to cater not only to our students but to everyone at large, to increase our audience, right? To increase our set of people who want to watch us, okay, who would like our content right now. Okay, so rightly pointed out by you, the attention span is limited, and that is why we started with YouTube Shorts, and we started with our little bit of YouTube videos with 1.5 minute content and all of that. People started liking it. I think we started our YouTube channel just like 3 to 4 weeks, 4 weeks back, right? And we are now at 282 subscribers, and that's like an achievement for us.
It is definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, these small
Baby
things,
steps.
small things make us happy, and we celebrate it,
Of
right?
course, ma'am,
And that's what we are teaching our students as well. Okay.
Right.
To be honest with you, Pritish, in this COVID journey, we faced a lot of students having a lot of mental issues as well, like mental health issues, right?
Yeah.
And people used to come to us, students used to come to us, right? And we were open to guide them through as teachers, but frankly we didn't have that knowledge to do so, right? So we equipped ourselves with that as well. We studied a little bit of counseling, right? Professional counseling, so that we could help our students in that aspect as well.
Right.
So today RK is having not only marketing, HR, but also for mental health, well-being. We are also catering to that audience as well.
Right.
Okay.
Through education?
Through education.
Okay.
Through education, right.
Oh, that's a very unique thing that I honestly heard about. Through
holistic
education.
approach again.
Yeah.
Let me tell you one thing.
Yeah, sure.
Teachers are the OG content creators.
Yeah.
We have a lot of content.
Yeah.
It's just the platform has changed.
Right.
So in fact, all the teachers in the world around, I think all the teachers have so much to give. Like they have so much of content, maybe a term now, but I think the knowledge and the immense amount of effort teachers put in around the world is just kudos to all of them, and they're the OG content creators because they have that knowledge,
Right.
and it's just that we have to use different mediums to reach out,
Right,
and that's
right.
why when students, like she mentioned about mental health, etc., we realize that of course we equip ourselves, but we can also equip others to help further.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
and that's why information and knowledge relating to mental health became a part of our
right.
journey.
Right. Honestly, ma'am, that's a really great thing, and a really innovative thought, I would say, because now it's like people can start a YouTube channel, but they don't know what content to put out,
Correct.
and and it's not about them just putting out content. Ultimately, you're putting out content for the public to watch.
Correct.
So you need to make sure that you're catering to them in the right way. And I mean, that's exactly what you all are doing, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's really nice and inspiring to hear at the end of it. So
Thank you.
so, ma'am, but one question that I've wanted to ask, both of you are renowned professors. You've gained so much experience over time. And specifically, I want to talk about Mumbai University right now, even though KC is no longer affiliated to Mumbai
Yeah, we are
University.
HSNC University now.
But I mean, during my time, I was
It was
affiliated
Mumbai
to Mumbai
University.
University.
Yes.
Mumbai University in the past, was, I mean, it still is, but in the past was very, very well renowned at one point. And, but now when you compare it, if you compare it with, let's say, Delhi University is top notch. Probably the cutoffs are 98, 99 as compared to Mumbai University is not that much. So what do you think could be the reason for the slight dip in, I would say, quality of Mumbai University? And now that HSNC board is also there and colleges, became a part of that. So do you think Mumbai University at any part, they weren't doing something right that probably Delhi University did?
So it's not like so let's boil it down to on what criterias are you saying that
Right.
if you're judging it based on the criteria of percentages is just a number game that keeps changing. It's almost like the way it happens around in corporates, right? At one time, one company is doing amazing, then the other comes in. For example, the public sector is doing amazing, the private sector comes in and things change, right? So similarly, Mumbai University, I think, is doing great. They're doing fabulous. There are colleges that are becoming cluster university like ours, like HR, KC, BTTC are a cluster university under the HSNC University now. So the education system is going through reforms, right? And in actual term going through reforms. If you also look at school education for that matter. Now, for example, like you're saying, the cutoffs in ICSE board or CBSE board or SSE board for that matter would be like 90s or 95s or whatever. Now there's IB. Right? Which is not now, it's been prevalent for very long, but now the demand for IB has gone up.
Right.
So these students who are studying probably in IB are not coming to Mumbai University.
Right.
They're not coming to a Delhi University. Or
Right.
they're going for their further education abroad.
Yeah.
So these students are the ones who are changing the way they're perceiving the education system and the way they're navigating through the education system. So so there are few students left, right, who would make a choice between, say, a Delhi University or a Mumbai University, and that is what determines the popularity of that particular university. But the
Right.
university continues to thrive and do the same amount of work that they were doing
Right.
earlier.
Right.
It's the kind of students and their approach that has changed.
Right.
And because if a student has done IB throughout, for
Right.
them to come back to a degree in
Right.
India is difficult,
Right.
is different, because the kind of education system that they are going through is very different from an ICSE, CBSE or an SSE.
Yeah.
So they prefer going to abroad universities or colleges and continue their education, and that's how the demand changes for the Indian universities.
Right.
So it's not probably what they are doing differently, it's
Right.
the approach and the audience that has changed, and also the reforms that are coming in, like an HSNC University or a Homi Bhabha State University which has been developed, another cluster university which has changed the entire education system.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
But ma'am, when you talk about courses like, honors that is, there in Delhi,
Absolutely.
prevalent in Delhi University, as compared to not being there in Mumbai University, doesn't that also like play a role in people?
So let me ask you like this: why would you go to a Delhi University? If I had to ask you.
At this point of time, I would say 90% students go over there because they know Delhi University is the best at this point.
Correct.
And obviously that trend has been created because, for the past 20 years, the cutoffs have also been high. Probably the quality of education that you get would be better, and your placements that you get post after that would be slightly better.
So most of the people who probably go to Delhi University
Yeah.
would come and work back in Mumbai, because
Right.
Mumbai is the financial
Yeah.
capital of our country.
Yeah.
So when you talk about Mumbai University, for that matter, when students come here, so nowadays, in fact, there's a shift in trend. There are a lot of students from, say, Rajasthan, MP, etc., who would come to Mumbai to study, because they know that they work here, they study here for 3 years, and immediately they're going to get placed in the same place. So
City,
they
yeah.
adapt to the lifestyle.
Right.
So Delhi University, yes, their education system, one of the top colleges in India are a part of the Delhi University. But similarly, in Mumbai University, also there are top colleges. But here, the perspective of students is to make sure that they are here to succeed at work.
Right.
There, they are there to succeed at education. So the perspective is very, very different. They want to come here, make sure they, like you said, degree is just there. They want to make quick money. They want to be influencer. They want to enter the world of, the corporates quicker.
Right.
But at Delhi, the perspective is very clear. Probably they want to go there, study,
Right.
and then.
So do you
pursue.
think the city has a role to play in this?
Absolutely, the city, the area that the kind of course that they want to pursue.
Right.
Like today, if you want to do a BMS.
Yeah.
Or a management study or a business administration, hands down, you're coming to Mumbai.
Right. Right.
Because that's where you want to do something in literature, you want to do something in political science, arts, you're going to Delhi. So the course, the kind of studies that you want to pursue makes a lot of difference.
Right. Your views?
I think she's covered most of it, yeah. But yes, Mumbai University has its own beauty. As she rightly pointed out, we are in the financial hub, right? And quick money is the mantra which all of us have, right?
Right.
And this is where Mumbai prepares you. Mumbai sets you apart, right, from all of this. And when you are in this city, you will realize this. And also not only about Mumbai University education or HSNC or any other university. Every university is trying its best to remove the best lot of students. Okay, so numbers, the percentages is just there. They'll keep changing. Today it's 90, tomorrow it will be 99. As I said, I was 83. For me, it was best.
Yeah.
Right. So it will keep changing. It is your perspective as to how you want to proceed in your life. People from Rajasthan also come here in our college, right? And they do study, and they are brilliant students.
Yeah.
Does the state have anything to do? No, nothing. It's their acumen, how they shape their careers at the end of the day.
Right. Right. Because what I've noticed is it's not like, just because the cutoffs in Delhi are like 99 or 100, that means they'll go there only. With 99, they come to Bombay as well.
Absolutely, they do. Depends on what they're willing to do, what their career graph looks like.
Right. Because we have a lot of colleges in Mumbai, like let's say St. Xavier's, whose
Doing
cutoffs
brilliant.
are... Yeah.
Brilliant.
And they're one of the top colleges in Mumbai if a student aspires to get into an
Not even
arts.
Mumbai, ma'am. Like I would say in India.
In India,
Xavier's
yes,
is
one of the top colleges in
yeah.
India. So it depends on what the student wants to pursue and what is actually, what kind of career they're wanting to navigate to determines where they are going.
Right. So, ma'am, because you mentioned that, now, a cluster of colleges, they've come and formed the HSNC University. So, can you give me like an idea of what the university is aiming on doing, like, the long-term goals in terms of the students and in terms of the teachers as well?
Okay. So the long-term goal or, the idea behind having a cluster university is to make sure that education, the Indian education system, changes from the perspective of what the world sees it like, right? Today, how the world sees the Indian education system is we've been a part of the British education system and we kind of follow the same trend. But by forming and the government and UGC, wanting to make these smaller cluster universities is for universities to take the system in their hands and to understand and give the best to the students. To make sure that we are a world-class education system where people from other countries want to come to India and be a part of it and study, right? It's not just about so the idea is not to have too much of brain drain and rather have, and Indians are one of the best I mean, India has probably the best minds in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? You name the company, there's an Indian doing the entire
Yeah,
thing there.
yeah.
So why should we have a student go abroad and study the same thing when we can provide it to them here? So
right.
that is the reason why probably, why the entire education system is moving into clusters, so that there is a platform for them to reach out and
Right.
build the education system which is world class for everyone around them to come here.
I would just like to add a point
Yes,
to what she
ma'am.
said. To bridge that gap between corporate and colleges is what is important right now.
Right.
And to give corporates a finished product.
Right.
That is what these cluster universities are aiming at.
Right.
Okay. So getting these subjects like say events, okay, events and social marketing, or say e-commerce and digital marketing. Why are these subjects there? So that you can have a finished product at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And they are trying to add in as much practical aspect as possible, and that is what is important right
So
now.
skill-based
Skill-based,
education
yeah.
is what is the aim, to
Right.
provide a skill-based platform and internationalization of institutions, not in terms of Indians going abroad, but people
Keeping,
from
yeah,
other countries coming in. So it's like the other way around.
Right. But ma'am, you mentioned about, I would say molding the students for corporate in that way. But, considering India is now becoming a startup hub, why not, mold those students in a certain way that they can probably not just go into corporate, but go to other business, and probably could be marketing, could be anything else. I understand corporate has had that tagline and will continue to have that tagline, that if you're associated with a corporate firm, you are doing something right, or whatever it may be. But why not talk about those small businesses as well, where, and mold students to probably start their own business, help them in their own venture. Do you think HSNC University or probably y'all would want that to happen as well, or is it happening?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
that's the
That's-
aim.
Right.
So now, if you talk about a student entering the
Right.
education system,
Yeah.
when they exit,
Yeah.
there are probably 3 routes they're taking. One is either they're going for further education, whether they're going to an IIM, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, or they're going in for placements that are jobs in corporates.
Yeah.
And the third, and the most important, is they're starting up. Right? They're starting up something of their own. And that's exactly the culture that is what we are trying to build at the HSNC University. We are trying to build a platform, an environment, an entire, if I may say, like an entire setup for them where they can actually learn to start in college.
Yeah.
They don't need to
Yeah.
wait to graduate. They can
Right.
start right there in college. So we're trying, and that's the aim, to build that kind of an environment. So if you choose to go for further education, we aid you in that. We make sure that you take that route, and whatever is required for you to be eligible, we help you with that.
Right.
If you want to make sure that you want to work in a corporate, our placements are strong enough that
Yeah.
corporates come on to the campus. You've
Right.
been a product
Yeah.
of our placement. So you've got
Yeah.
job on campus.
Yeah.
And if that's the route the student wants to take, then probably that's the way we guide them to. And third is where we tell them that, listen, startups are, so we have a very, very active entrepreneurship cell
Yeah.
where we are trying to create an incubation center, and we have an incubation center which enables the students to start up their own business while they are studying.
Okay,
In fact,
wow.
we've launched a book of our own where
Esperanta.
we've covered 101 entrepreneurs of KC College.
Oh, wow.
And
Lovely.
their journey of how they started from college to
Yeah. Wow.
making it big in the world. And we intend to make it at least 1,000 in the
wow.
coming
1,000
years.
stories,
1,000
yeah.
stories of
Yes.
entrepreneurs.
Wow.
That's the kind of environment we are trying to create for a student to start up.
Right.
So yes.
Wow, that's really nice to hear, ma'am. Because promoting entrepreneurship, like you mentioned, we are one of the sharpest minds in the country.
Correct.
And India, I feel, as a country, has the capacity to function on its own and not be dependent on other people.
Absolutely.
So the fact that this is happening, ma'am, is a really
Yes.
great thing.
Corporate plus startup is, I think, the new trend and new
Yes.
mantra. Like people are working and
Yeah.
Having a
starting
side
up
hustle.
Side hustle, right?
I don't want to make it very evident, but when I've entered into corporate, so, it's very subjective, I would feel. Nowadays, people are not liking that culture.
Want to be your own boss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have that mentality when they, I wouldn't say before they're entering, but when once they enter, and especially in certain companies that obviously you know what I'm talking about, ma'am. You also know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
So they create that aura, and I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong at their part.
Absolutely.
They have been that way. And they'll
Yeah.
obviously be that way.
Rather, they're pushing us to be better.
Better, yeah. Like better as individuals, a hard
Absolutely.
worker, whatever. But I feel you need to understand that probably everyone is not suited to this. and they have that mentality about, you know, I want to work on my own thing and my own. That's the generation that we're living in right now. So I feel with that, probably startups in India has a better future with that mindset. It's just not corporate like how it used to be.
Absolutely. No, that's true. In fact, that's what we are trying to do at our college and our universities to create more job creators rather than seekers.
Right.
We don't want job seekers. We want more job creators who are there out there to get, you know, create those jobs for people who really need it.
Absolutely. Ma'am, because earlier you mentioned about, you know, IIMs, ABC. This is one question I feel now it's very, very, I don't think there's ever been a direct answer to this. So that's why I want an answer from both of you. What do you think is the relevance of an MBA in today's age?
Not to be a herd mentality, just because someone is doing or it is a norm or a precedent to be done, it should be done.
Right.
You really want to do it, then do it. Like, it's not absolutely necessary.
Right.
As you said, there are influencers right from like FYs. We have a lot of influencers already making their own money without an MBA,
Right.
So it doesn't have to be a herd mentality and a precedent that no, it is a must. There's nothing a must, right? If you feel the need to do it, that is what my point of view is. If you feel the need to do it, then surely go ahead, right? If it is giving you that extra skill, that extra caliber which you think is necessary,
Right.
then go ahead. If
Right.
you think a corporate job or a startup is giving you better opportunities, right, then go ahead and do that, right? As she rightly pointed out, it's a skill-based journey now rather than just a degree. Right? And I feel experience wins over everything.
Yeah, no doubt.
It teaches us everything.
Right. But with so many courses that are there right now, not just an MBA. Earlier, it was pretty, I would say, orthodox. Probably an MBA. If somebody wants to do a master's, he had very few options. An MBA was one of them. But now with the plethora of options that are available, do you still feel an MBA is, you know, holds its place as one of the best?
You know, like I said, today's generation is spoiled for choice.
Yeah.
There's a problem of plenty.
Yeah.
So when you say MBA, what does it mean? It means you're trying to master something, right? It's a master's.
Right.
So in today's time, with so many options, basically the platform is there to tell you that master one skill. Right? Master. So like she said that if you feel the need, you do it. So yes, you know, first it was finish your graduation, do your MBA, get on to work. Now that's not how it works. You finish your graduation, figure what you want to do, do an internship, do a full-time job, do whatever, probably start up your own business, figure what you want to do, and then you go and master that skill. Right? Then you go for your masters, figure this is what I want to do. Now I gain the knowledge to better at it. And that's why you would want to do an MBA.
Right. Ma'am, like, I think this couldn't have had a better explanation towards it, because a lot of people, they come under the influence ki, okay, my brother has done it, my father did when he was, you know, his age. Or I've seen this person do it and they're earning a lot of money. So the money factor also comes in at the end of it. But, you know, like, people look at it as a road to earn money, and like we mentioned, quick money.
Money.
So do you still feel, and I have noticed certain instances where after an MBA, you do get paid the money that, you know, probably another master's degree won't earn that much. So in terms of the money factor, let's say if my main goal is to earn money, for example.
Correct.
With that in mind, should I be doing an MBA?
If your main goal is to earn money, no.
Okay.
Then you don't need an MBA. You can do 100 other things better at what you're doing, attain a particular skill and earn money. But if your aim is to really do it in a form of gaining the right kind of knowledge and moving ahead and mastering what you're doing, do an MBA. You need to do an MBA. Today, you know, so even companies have certain basic criteria that why do they not take a graduate and why would they prefer a master's student? Another reason why you do an MBA, why do you do better at an MBA? Because you're there truly to learn. Like you said in the beginning, you know, we're just doing the degree because we need a degree. You want to be a graduate. But when do you want to be a postgraduate is when you genuinely want to do it. When you genuinely want to learn something is when you would go for post-graduation. And that should be the reason for going for a post-graduation. Not because you want to earn money, not because you want someone else is doing it, or my father did it, or I have to, not that. You genuinely want to learn, master that skill, whether it's a marketing, finance, HR. Today there's
Yeah.
business analytics.
MBA in so many things.
There
Yeah.
are MBA in so many.
There's MBA in family
Choices
business as
again.
There's
well.
MBA in family business.
Yeah.
There's a lot of MBA that's happening.
Yeah.
You want to master it. You really want to apply that knowledge.
Right.
So in MBAs also, they don't teach you theoretical. They teach you
Right.
case study based. They teach you more practical aspects. So you want to
Right.
apply it, you do an MBA.
Right. Ma'am, one thing I wanted to ask again. You obviously you've been teaching for the past 6-7 years. You've been teaching this around 11, which makes it 13 years.
Yeah.
So in 13 years, the education system also
Has changed.
Yeah,
Long,
it's
yeah,
changed
I know.
drastically. So I mean, I just want to talk about the contemporary years that are right now. What do you think is like how the education system is right now? Do you think it requires any changes according to you? Like if you could change anything, what would you change?
Tough one. Okay. Of course. I believe one thing, change is the only constant in life.
Yeah.
You don't change, you don't grow, right? There are changes required. There are a lot of changes and we are working on it. It's not that people are not looking at the national education policy is a big change in itself. So yes, there are changes and changes are going to happen. The kind of students we have, the kind of education system we have, the kind of teaching methodologies we have, everything is changing. The kind of research that is happening.
Can you name a few specifics which are there right now which you would like to change?
Certain things that I would like to change is one of the things that you mentioned earlier, build about a critical thinking ability in students.
Right.
So focus and truly build skills, right? We talk about skill-based education, but truly be able to implement skill-based education. Everyone cannot be good at everything,
Yeah.
right? So help the child navigate through that, but keep the base strong and help them probably have an education system where they can truly build on their skills at the graduation level itself, because the generation is changing.
Right.
They are much more fast, right? Today, what probably I would have learned at the age of 30, they are learning at the age of 21.
Right.
And it naturally comes to
Right.
them. That's how naturally human body is changing.
Right.
So the education system to support to that has to be more focused and execute at the ground level skill-based education. So that would be something that would be a change.
And you?
Frankly, the change which I see right now in NEP, I would like to mention that there are credits given for everything a child is doing, right? Every effort is getting counted. And that's what is wonderful. That's what the beauty about the new NEP, the National Education Policy, is
Yeah,
all
the
about.
credits.
The credit-based system. Like you do an event, you get a credit. You go for a course, extra add-on courses,
Correct.
you get a credit. Okay. And that's what the beauty is. Now the child is encouraged to do something much more than just a degree,
Right.
right? The certificate courses, or say for example, you going for a cultural fest,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All of that counts. You becoming a member of an entrepreneurship cell and
Right.
hosting a entire e-cell event, right?
right.
That's what it is all about, narrowing down to practicality.
Right.
And the child is getting awarded for it.
Right.
And as she rightly pointed, everyone is not good at everything. So if
Yeah.
I'm good at hosting events, right,
yeah.
as a person, and not good at a theory-based subject and studying, right, I'm still getting my marks, right? I'm still getting my credit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still getting my due share of appreciation, like a carrot and a stick approach. So we are getting our due rewards. And that's what the entire beauty of national education policy is. And
Right.
things are changing for the good.
Right. Okay, so nothing wrong that's there right now.
Not that I can think of at like right now, nothing.
Right. Because I feel I mean, again, I
From a
want to
student's
ask.
perspective,
Yeah.
what do you think?
What do
is-
you-
I feel, I mean, I understand it right now, but when I was in my schooling days, I mean, I've learned a lot of things that I know I'm not going to be using right now. But then I've understood why I've learned those things as well and what role it plays. But this is still the same reason that students, complain to other people about that we are not going to be using this in the future when we grow up and we're working. So why should we learn it right now?
Correct.
So what do you think is your view on that then? Should they remove that then?
See, the rote learning system has to get out.
Yeah.
That is something that shouldn't exist, because understanding is more important and applicability, like we've been talking about, is more important.
Yeah.
But it always takes time. It's a gradual process. Something that you may study will form base for what you need to do earlier.
Yeah.
So you can't jump from an A to Z.
Right.
You
right.
need to go from an A, B, C, D, E to
Correct,
Z, right?
correct, yeah.
So that aspect, and that is what is changing right now. It is happening. The
Right.
changes have started happening where the things that were probably relevant years back may be irrelevant in today's time.
No,
Like today, I can give you an example. Like probably if my daughters are going to school, they're 6 years old, they're studying computers. Now they're
Right.
learning probably what's a mouse.
Right.
Who uses a mouse today? There are laptops
Right.
with, you know, those
Touchpad and all,
touchpads,
yeah.
and we're moving further from that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but if they don't know what a mouse is, if ever they come across a system like this, they'll not.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is important, but at the same time, advancement is also important. So, things that are irrelevant should be out of the system,
Right.
and which is relevant and more like today, coding kids at 7 or 8 are taught how to code.
Correct. Correct.
Now, that is also a change that's coming, right?
Right.
So yes, these things are happening, but yes, if something is irrelevant, shouldn't be a part
So
of it.
it is still there according to you.
It is still there in the mainstream education system, which is
Right.
also changing under the national education policy. The entire syllabuses and curriculums have changed.
Right.
So it'll take time. It can't
Of
happen
course, yeah.
in a year or in a day. It takes time. It's a gradual process.
And especially for us as Indians, we have 1.4 billion people that we cater
Exactly,
to.
exactly.
It takes time.
So yeah. Okay, ma'am, a very orthodox question right now. Finance or marketing in India, which of these fields has a greater scope at this point of time?
You want us to be diplomatic or?
You want us to be honest.
I want you all to be honest.
So whenever a student comes to me, I say both have their pros
Yeah.
and cons, of course.
It's what you want.
Yeah, it's what your liking is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As per your skill, how and what do you enjoy the most? Okay. So my biggest mistake was I went somewhere where I never enjoyed. Okay.
Yeah.
But it taught me something. It taught me to be a better human being. It taught me a lot of aspects of finance as well. Okay. So say for example, if I tell you about finance, you will make quick money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The hikes will be huge. We both are in the same boat. So
Yeah.
the hikes will be huge, right?
Yeah.
And for me, finance was a monotonous job. Okay. But
Yeah,
not
yeah.
for me, because I used to love marketing. I used to
Yeah.
enjoy creativity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that is where my thinking changes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Marketing for me is a little slow money making, but
Yeah.
yes, creativity, out of the box, critical thinking, everything, I would go for marketing.
Right,
Okay. So
right.
that's what my liking is. That's where my heart lies.
Right.
And that's what I always advise my students also,
Right,
that
right.
wherever your heart lies, wherever you enjoy,
Right.
right? If
Right.
you enjoy studying taxes, if you enjoy, say, doing a lot of compliances, go
Right.
for finance,
Right.
right?
Right.
You will enjoy it.
Right.
Like I enjoy digital marketing. I enjoy learning about it even at this age. I would not say that, okay, I don't want to learn what is Instagram or what is YouTube and how to create a video. If I do that, then that means I'm in the wrong field.
Yeah.
And to be in the right field, you should enjoy it at any age,
Hmm.
wherever you are in your life. And that's what my mantra is.
I mean, that's honestly very well put, ma'am.
So I think finance marketing, like she already mentioned, it
Yeah.
depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
You need to know both.
Yeah.
You to thrive and to be successful, you need
Right.
to know both.
Right.
Today, if you don't know what to do with your money, you can't understand finance. You don't know how to invest. There's no point because you're making money. You need to know how to invest, right?
Yeah,
You need to understand money.
Hmm.
At the same time, if you are someone who wants to start up your own business and you have the best product, you have the best mind, you have the best of the service, but you don't know how to sell, again, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
So both have their own things. In terms of education, if you're saying, if you are someone who possesses or are already naturally good at a skill which is close to marketing, study finance.
Okay,
If you are someone who is good at understanding money, understands how to invest, understands statements, today there are so many aids to help you analyze things, right? Today technology you don't need to sit and understand what is a balance sheet.
Yeah.
There are systems to give you answers to it.
Yeah.
You need to understand it,
Yeah.
right? And if you already have the acumen, go for marketing because that is a skill that you need to learn.
Right.
So it depends on exactly like she said, what
Right.
you want to do,
Right.
but both are equally important in their own ways. It's more what caters to you.
But if you talk about India as a country, which field do you think will continue to have the greater scope as compared
Technology.
to the others? Okay.
Technology
AI.
is in finance marketing. Without technology, you're not going anywhere.
Okay,
Today,
okay.
marketing earlier marketing was very different. You would make ads, you would do PR.
Yeah.
Today you have to know digital marketing.
Right,
You
right.
can't
Yeah,
survive. So
yeah.
technology is the basic thing you need to be successful. You need to know to be successful.
Right.
In fact, I find it tougher for the younger generation because
Yeah.
they really need to strive hard.
Yeah.
They really need to learn a lot.
I feel it's
before going
also-
out there, it's much more tougher.
Right, right. And because you said that, I feel it's also like the younger generation, especially, who have been, I would say, who are like 5-6 years old, starting off their education right now, they are reliant on technology.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say that I wasn't. I mean,
Absolutely.
But when I look at me, we only started using it about, 12, 13 years of age.
Correct.
That's when we started using our computers or
Correct.
whatever. But if you look at now's generation, I feel if you take that iPad away from them, you take that
They
computer
can't
away from them,
survive.
they can't survive.
They
yeah.
can't. They don't
can't
know what
eat
to do.
food.
They
Yeah.
can't
eat
Yeah,
food.
exactly. They can't eat food. They can't think. They can't
can't
survive.
think.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they're learning coding at the age of 7,
Right.
6.
Right.
That's introducing technology at a way younger age.
Right.
And if they don't know how to do it, like y'all must have done in your college time, you must have done a lot of presentations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You had to know. Today, if you go to a corporate without knowing how to use a PowerPoint or an
PPT,
Excel,
yeah,
you are
yeah.
not going to survive. They're going to fire you the next
Fair
day.
enough. Yeah, yeah.
Right? Today, when I walk into my class and I ask them, like, please make a PowerPoint presentation, if they don't know, I am already thinking, you have to know. Like,
Right.
my expectations are already there.
Right.
In my time, my teacher taught me how to make a PowerPoint. She didn't expect me to know it.
Right.
You see the difference?
Right.
The expectation of today's generation to know technology
Right.
is very high, and that's why
Right.
it makes it very tough for them. So that's something that they really need to know. My teacher never expected me to know a PowerPoint or an Excel. She taught
Right,
me.
right.
I expect them to know.
Right.
That's
right.
and I'm
Fair
sure the coming generation is going to be even tougher.
So you're saying, as and when the generation keeps passing on, it's just going to get tough and tough.
It is because these are certain things because the times are changing. They are growing with it.
Right.
We grew up with mobile phones,
Mobile
Yeah.
which that time was probably charged to make a
Yeah.
call. Yeah, that time.
Like we used to play missed call,
I'm from the
missed call,
80s, so
yeah.
I've probably seen like the best times because I've seen transitions
Yeah.
from those roll cameras to
Yeah.
iPhone right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
I've seen from computers to iPads and laptops. So I've seen a lot of transition.
Yeah,
And whereas this generation is probably seeing transitions from Alexa to I don't know what's going to come in the future.
Yeah.
So it's tougher. It's difficult for them. Their mental health is at stake. Today, if I tell Alexa do this and Alexa doesn't do it, I can yell at Alexa. But
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't. So, if I tell Alexa play this music,
Yeah.
and
If
Alexa will not play,
not-
I'll be like Alexa do it,
Yeah,
right?
Correct. Yeah.
And what I feel is for this generation, the younger ones which are growing with it,
Yeah.
they feel everyone is an Alexa.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
The
Yeah, yeah.
humanizing aspect
Right.
is getting lost today.
Right.
They would expect the same from you. Pritish, do it. And you're going to be like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But they can't take that no for an answer.
Right.
So
right,
it's not their fault.
right.
They're growing with it, and which is making it much more tougher for them.
Survival is going to be difficult. I
Yeah.
feel.
We survived. We had the
We
golden
had,
era.
yeah, we had the good golden era. also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I would say each era has its own.
Has
pros and
its own.
cons.
Absolutely. Agreed.
So, ma'am, now we are almost at the end of the episode. One piece of advice that you would like to give the younger generation or the older generation, any generation.
Honestly, my advice would be, like I said, there's no shortcut to success. It's always best to give it and learn the hard way. Work hard. Give your best, leave the rest. You can't control things,
Yeah.
right? The result is never going to be in your hands. So give your best, leave the rest. And there is a lot out there. Understand what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what's best for you, and make the right choice. That would be something I'd like to say.
For me, as I already told you, that practicality is something which is very important, okay? And applicability of things, okay? And I would like to quote Sudha Murthy on this, okay? Life is very unpredictable. It's not coming with a syllabus and an exam which is planned, right? Like in college or in school. So that's how take life every single day as it comes, okay? And lead it happily, okay? Acceptance is what is important in today's day and age, which is, I think, lacking in most of
Yeah.
the today's generation kids.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how I think y'all are helping through Arki Learning Studios.
Yes,
as well.
that's the exact motto.
And I'm sure, ma'am, it is going to help inspire and help students achieve their goals in a million ways possible. And we can't wait to, see it grow and see it prosper. And I have personally learned a lot from both of them. I'm sure everyone else, the younger
Thank you.
generation, who will have the, I would say, opportunity to be a part of your lives so that you can inspire their lives, are going to be the luckiest bunch of
Thank
people.
you so
Thank you
much,
so
Pritish.
much,
You've been one of those students that we've loved having, and I hope students like you continue to be there. And
my pleasure, ma'am.
No, truly, you've been great, and we're so happy that you're doing this. And this is exactly what we want our students to be. We want them to, make the choices for them,
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
themselves,
Yeah.
Thrive on your own, and we're proud of what you're doing. So it's really,
you,
really
ma'am.
great. It was a absolute
Delight,
pleasure,
a
delight to be here.
To be
So, ma'am, the
here.
pleasure is all mine.
This was super
honestly.
fun. So
Thank you
it was
so
nice.
much. Ma'am. So we'll see you all in the next episode. Cheers. Take care.